My audio okay?
Uh-oh.
Right now, we're waiting for one attendee who's joining, who has not joined yet.
Okay. For those who are already in the room, we're going to be starting at 11:05.
Join the meeting.
Marcos.
Just we're waiting for a few more people to join the room. Is there still someone in the waiting room?
Yes, sorry, I'm just
Oh,
letting them
okay.
in. Sorry for that. Yeah, people are still coming in, so.
Okay.
We have 15 people.
And for those who just entered, we are going to be starting in about 5 minutes, and then we will welcome everyone.
Yes, everybody's in.
Should have some music like got me working day and night or something by my
I'm having real bad
Yasmin, it sounds like he's having
I'm
some
here.
connection.
Sounds like he's having some internet connection problems there.
Hello?
Yes. Is it frozen? Oh, there we go.
Somebody got to go first because I'm having a real bad connection problem trying to find a spot.
You sound
Okay, we
good,
haven't
Fitz,
started
now.
yet. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can
Can't
hear
hear
you.
anything.
We
I'm
can
going
hear
back on
you.
mute.
Okay.
I know how that goes.
Mm,
Girl, that can be so annoying. He's having connection problems. I'm having voice problems today.
I heard about that snow that their buffalo's supposed to get
You
some
will be
snow.
shutting your mouth. We will not claim what you just said. I
They
don't want
said
to
it
hear
on
about
the
snow.
news. It wasn't
No. That's fake news.
At least it's not here, but I'm sorry, upstate though. I was like, wow.
Well, we could talk about something about Murphy's Law because apparently this is something when it has to do with, running your own business. You got to be ready to, take action when something goes wrong or
Mhm.
anything goes wrong.
Yes.
Marcos.
Learning to adjust.
All right. Okay, we got 3 minutes, y'all. Close that out.
That snow can stay in Buffalo.
They said like 4 feet. I was like, oh,
Get out.
yes.
They got 4 feet?
It's coming. They're closing schools tomorrow.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I
Maybe
was
it was
just like,
maybe it was
please.
fortunate. They had that other thing that they were going to do a demonstration up there, but the people from the voting machine manufacturer had got COVID, so they had to cancel. So maybe that was a godsend
it's a
in a
good
way.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, it's 11:03. We still want to wait the 2 minutes, or do we
No,
want to get?
let's
We can
let
get
this
started.
happen. Yes.
Okay. So, welcome everybody. Good morning. My name is Yasmin. I am one of the co-coordinators of the Downstate New York ADAPT Employment Group. My other co-coordinator, she is on the call and one of the panelists for today. I just want to say, well, we all want to say welcome to the self-employment workshop. We are so happy you were able to join us today. A brief physical descriptive of me, even though I don't have my camera on. I'm an African-American woman. I wear glasses and I have shoulder length hair. And we can get started. So our panelists will introduce themselves and their companies, and they will give a physical descriptive themselves. So Edwin, would you like to go first?
Hi, yes, I am Ed White. I am in the Business Enterprise Program. I am a sole proprietor, and I am happy to be on this call. I normally respond when Rashida calls me, and we're happy to be acquaintances. So I am a African-American, 60 years old with not all gray hair, which I'm happy about. I am I'm in my office, and I'm in my office and at work.
Join the meeting.
And I have a concession stand, and I sell prepackaged goods, coffee, tea, all those kinds of things, snacks, and I have some vending machines located outside of the building. So I literally have to take a cart of items, walk down the block with it, and fill vending machines. And I have one employee and I have a trainee. So it's very exciting to be in the Business Enterprise Program. I've been in the program for 32 years. I started in 1991. I've been in various facilities. We have all types of businesses that we run. We are a federally mandated program. The state licenses the people in the program, and we are sole proprietors. So we have the profit, which also means we have the loss. So whichever one is higher, that's the one we get, I guess. So we have about 64 to 67 managers in the program, maybe 70 facilities from New York downstate, which we call the Southern region, which is like from Long Island, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Bronx, up here in White Plains. I'm in the county courthouse, which has state employees in it. So that gives us a priority. David Paterson signed the state Minnie Randolph Shepherd Act into law, and so which codified our ability to work in state-run facilities and have a priority there. So we are very we're very excited with that legislation, and other things have been signed, and the program is growing, and we do need more blind people to get involved. And remember, this program, you can find it in the Commission for the Blind handbook, I guess. They have a brochure, and I don't know if it's visible in my screen. But
Yeah, we can see.
yes, that was the Business Enterprise Program. And if anyone is legally blind, they should contact their counselor and let them know of their interest.
Okay,
Small
before
business
we, thank you so much, Ed.
You're welcome.
Before we get started, I forgot to mention a little housekeeping before we go on really quick. We are going to have our guest speakers talk to us first, and then at 11:40, we will take questions then. And but for right now, we need everyone to remain muted until around 11:40. Then we will, that will be your chance to ask questions. And then, we'll do more with how to unmute when we get closer to that time. Thank you. Who's up next? Fitz, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Y'all can hear me pretty good.
Yes.
All right. So my name is Fitz Martin. I am a African-American male, 6'1" tall, dark skin, slender built. I live in Brooklyn. I'm from the Brooklyn area. Grew up in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I now reside in Mill Basin. I run Willpower Entertainment. I own Willpower Entertainment. I am the founder, president, and CEO of Willpower Entertainment. It's a full entertainment company covering every aspect of entertainment, from artist development to publishing. Our main source of income right now is our studio. I've been running a recording studio for around 22 years. We do anything that the artist desires, like from doing their videos to mixing and mastering their music. I'm out in Brooklyn. Anything else y'all want to know? I'm here, pretty much. I'm here to tell y'all how I started, who we serve, and anything else y'all need to know.
Okay, thank you. Fitz, you may want to move over a little bit to be more in the frame.
Yeah.
To your other side.
Other side.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, next we have Pedro.
How you doing, everybody? Good morning. I am Pedro Martinez, light-skinned Latino male, also resides in Brooklyn. My company, P&D Services, LLC, it's a limited liability company that I started earlier this year. I've been working as a independent contractor for the last 12 years, maybe. And I decided to open up my own business due to working with lawyers and a lot of the contract work that they required from a paralegal. And because the IRS decided to tax me as a business, I decided to open up my own business to get the write-offs. So, but my business is just like it being it's an LLC, it's a B&B type of company, which means business to business. So I do not deal with the public at all. Most of my work consists of researching, background checking, report writing, and submitting forms for attorneys.
Okay, sounds wonderful. Next we have Rashida.
Hi, everyone. So what are we doing again, Yasmin? I kind of lost focus.
Introducing yourself and your business.
Okay, so my name is Rashida Bunting, and I am the president and co-founder of One Heart, One Vision, Inc. It's a 501c3 not-for-profit charitable organization. And the mission of One Heart, One Vision is to provide community support and services to blind or low vision women from disenfranchised neighborhoods all across the country. We have what I call empowerment groups. We have our New to Blindness Empowerment Group, our OHOV Women Empowerment Group, Vixens Women Empowerment Group. We also have our Nurture Circle Survivor Trauma Group, which tonight at 7 p.m. And we have some new things coming up in January, but I don't want to give it away yet. I love the element of surprise. And we definitely provide all kinds of services. And one thing that I will say, everyone, people say, well, what about all disabled women, or what about blind men? We will turn no one away, but we do focus on because I'm a blind woman. And, I'll get into more stuff a little later, but we do focus on blind and low vision women and physical descript. I'm a dark-skinned African-American woman with long dreads in my hair. Excuse my voice, I'm losing my voice. And I'm wearing a white hoodie that has my company's logo on it. It's a purple heart with a gold sun, and it states on the hoodie, One Heart, One Vision.
Okay, and she forgot to mention.
Join the meeting.
She's also she's the other co-coordinator
Oh,
of the
yes.
employment group.
Yes, I'm in a different role right now. I am the other coordinator of this Adapt Employment Group.
Yes,
But I'll
yes,
talk about
yes.
my process a little later with One Heart, One Vision.
Okay, so since we do have a jam-packed session, let's get right into the questions. First one up is, why did you start your company? Pedro, would you like to go first?
Sure. Like I previously mentioned, the IRS taxed me as a company, and I was extremely heavily taxed last year, well, earlier this year for last year's income. And it was advised to me to start my own business and register it as a business, opposed to just doing it self-proprietorship and doing business as just my name. So I decided to do an LLC for two reasons. One, it was to get my own business up and running, and two, for protection, because at any point, anything can happen. We all know Murphy Law can apply to anyone and anything. That includes companies, private companies, small little companies. And I decided to do an LLC for legal reasons, and to protect my company and myself from being sued directly.
From your calendar.
Okay.
That's in 15
Fitz,
minutes.
go next. Same question. Why did you start your company?
From your calendar.
All right.
Starts in
Can
15 minutes.
somebody needs to mute back there? So as I said, my company is Willpower Entertainment LLC. I started my company 22 years ago. And why I started my company is I'm from a musical family. I played the drums, the keyboard. So eventually I wanted to, record and put the music out. So the studio sold everything together. So it was, eventually I was gonna, get to that point. After going to so many studios, you wanted to add your own flavor to whatever it is that you was doing. So I had to, pretty much get my own cockpit, as you would say, my own, what you would call it, where I can cook up my own music and stuff like that. So I created the studio to be able to control the music that I'm putting out on. So I don't have to spend, studio time is expensive. When you're spending, 2 hours in the studio, you're not getting your full potential out of it. So when we built our own studio, we was able now to, be in the studio for 12 hours, really make the vibe music, really make something that's motivated and not just driven by time. That's it.
Okay. Same question, Edwin.
Yes. Well, I started my business by accident. I was a telemarketer for a little while, selling daily news, and I worked in a private school for like 7 or 8 years, answering the phones as a receptionist. But their switchboard was very simple, so I answered 3 phones on one board. And when you go out into the public sector, they have a switchboard that may have 12 phone lines or something. In the 1990s, they still use phones, right? So I went to a company in Manhattan, and they didn't have a job for me, but the guy, he delivered furniture to the Commission for the Blind. And he said, you should talk to the Commission for the Blind. And he gave me the director's number. I called her up, and she says, well, you have to get your case opened by the Commission for the Blind. I'm like, yeah, I have had experience working with the Commission for the Blind from childhood on up. And then I stopped the relationship because I was young and married and had kids, and I couldn't I needed a job like yesterday, So that's how I found out about the Business Enterprise Program. I started the training program and went through it. It's much different now. You have a more computer-driven and a computer-savvy generation of today, and a tech-savvy generation, whereas then we were using calculators and cash registers, and computer was very young at that time. So we did a lot of things by hand, including taking inventory. So that's how I got started.
Okay, Rashida?
Well, so OHOV started many years ago. Even and I'll get into that. So the reason I started OHOV because it's my life's mission. So it was written spiritually many years ago. I've always wanted to do a not-for-profit as opposed to a for-profit organization, because I have a strong desire to give back to the community in which raised me and which I'm a part of as a blind woman from a disenfranchised neighborhood growing up. I grew up in Bed-Stuy, and I was lucky enough to have, people who believed in me and the resources. But the key word is I was lucky. And because I was lucky and I had people who really pushed for me and advocated who weren't blind, I felt like when I become an adult, I'm going to give back to people in my situation who aren't as lucky. So when the opportunity presented itself in 2021, I took the bull by the horn, and I'll explain that later. And this is OHOV.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, let's move into now. I'm sure everybody wants to know like what the process was. So that's the next question. What was the process that you went through to start your business? Like, did you have to submit any kind of documents, things like that? Fitz, would you like to go first?
Yes, I'll go first. So my process, I had to build a location. I had to build a recording booth. I had to build a control booth. I had to get equipment, mixing consoles, speakers, compressors, reverb, delay, stuff like that. A whole location, right? So how am I going to do this fresh out of high school with no real income? I'm a pretty popular guy. So I just gathered my friends, search for the, the sheetrock, the plywood, the stuff like that, search for all that stuff real cheap. And took my time. It wasn't overnight, I didn't get everything one time. Took my time, slowly got everything together. Then I got my friends together. And I had one guy that was a professional. He knew what he was doing. And he was the supervisor for me and all of my friends. And that's how we built the studio. We got together, whatever he told us to do, we did. If he told us to cut, we cut. If he told us to run a screw, we ran a screw. And one of the blessed things is that all of my friends that helped me to build this studio, at this point right now, they're like, they own a lot of real estate and they all are handymans. Like they can fix their stuff. So this studio, we building this studio taught us a trade. So that's pretty much how I got my start.
Okay, your camera is moving over. Pedro?
Well, getting started wasn't easy because trying to figure out the legal paperwork and that needed to be submitted to the state. New York, when you file for an LLC, there's more guidelines that you need to comply with than filing for a regular, self-proprietorship. So getting the county to provide me with the information and the paperwork, I had to go through a third-party company to get assistance in trying to fill out the application, submitting the forms. Now everything is electronic. It may be a little easier, but yet a little complicated because still things are not fully accessible for those who are blind or visually impaired. However, the fee was paid, the information was submitted. However, a crucial expensive lesson that I learned was with an LLC, you must advertise your company in a local newspaper, 2 different local newspapers in New York State. And that is also an additional fee, along with, oh, by the way, if you do not put the correct address to your company, you may want to find a location or a PO box that you may want to submit as your business address, because putting down your home address as your home business, it will be advertised on the paper. So getting that address fixed was an additional fee, along with the additional paperwork that needed to be submitted. And a lot of that correction, a lot of that correction took place also right before it got advertised in the paper.
Okay, that's good. Ed?
Hi, yes. Okay, so being self-employed, I knew was going to take a lot of independence, a lot of where you're now, your destiny is in your own hand, and you can't just like if you don't have help for the things in your life, your family structure is not together, or your finances are not in order, then those kind of things could definitely hamper you in your dreams. So starting business for us, the Commission for the Blind did a lot of the work. So the basic requirement for us was to pass the courses, do the math curriculum, do the basic business practices, get the certificate like from the New York City food handlers, pass a course for serving safe food, and then hire an accountant. So I remember my kids were 7 and 5 years old when I hired the accountant, brought my kids to his office, and they took a nap while he did the paperwork. So we had a sales tax certificate done, and I went down the block to another building in Manhattan and got the doing business certificate done. And my wife was driving in her car, she works in Manhattan, and she saw a truck that said Sweets and Things. And she said, that's it, we're gonna name the company Ed Sweets and Things. And she never saw the truck again. And so that's how we became Ed Sweets and Things. And now of course people are eating foods without sugar in them, so so I'm still Sweets and Things. And it's been a long career. I basically started the business with maybe a couple of $100. So I just needed enough money to open the cash register, to give out change for the first day or two. So that's how I started. And then you just wait a few weeks before you can take home your first paycheck, and you let the business grow for a few months, and then you're able to draw a salary. So if you start your business without debt, because we didn't have to get loans, we didn't have to get, in our program, you don't have to get a loan unless you're starting like a vending route or something like that. But if it's just an over-the-counter store, the Commission for the Blind has built into their system, into the federal program, they're mandated to give the blind vendor the training, to give them management support. And now it's a loan and not a grant. So let's suppose that inventory to run the business for 3 months costs $8,000. The state actually gives the blind vendor $8,000 that they pay back over a 2-3 year period of time, and they pay it in installments, monthly installments with no interest. So what we do is, if there is a manager already in the location and you get the location after that person, then you can buy their inventory, and the state will give you the difference, because some people run their inventory down. If they're moving from place to place, they don't know if the new manager is going to buy all their stuff. So for example, I had a place where I got $4,000 worth of inventory from the person and got a loan, say, for $8,000. So I paid him back his whole $4,000, and I used the other $4,000 for my own inventory to start the store, and I was off and running. So that's how we started.
Okay, Rashida?
Sure. I want to step off the panel for a second and be a co-coordinator. Yasmin, in the interest of time, because we want to get questions, could, everyone please keep your responses to 2 to 3 minutes? So yeah, now I'm back as the president of OHOV. Okay, so what was that question about the process, or how did I get started?
Like, what was your process?
Okay, so like I said, the process started years before. And what I did, I aligned myself with not-for-profit organizations, and I needed to be on the inside to know how they really work and how they run. And which, believe it or not, well, not believe it or not, it was a major pay cut for me to get in line with not-for-profit organizations, because the key is not-for-profit. But I already knew what vision that I had in my head beforehand. So I aligned myself with not-for-profit organizations. One in particular was the National Federation of the Blind, and see how, they ran their organization. And okay, so this is how a board works. Okay, so this is how marketing works. This is how decisions are made. This is how, and then, you speak to people who are connected with not-for-profits. So, I would go to something called non-com, which is like a not-for-profit convention. And you speak to people, because a lot of not-for-profits fall along the wayside because people want money. And at the end of the day, if you're not making that money initially, then people are going to give up. So you got to align yourself with people who believe in the vision of the not-for-profit. And that's what I did. So I have a board, and it started out with 3 of us, and now it's a small board. I think it's about 5 or 6 of us. And with the paperwork. So last year I got a lot of money, believe it or not, from this pandemic unemployment. And I did the research on, because I didn't want to do the paperwork. The paperwork is really like intense for not-for-profit. So I said, I'm in over my head. I need to go to some people. Went to a consultant. We paid the people, I think it was about $1,500. And they did all of the paperwork. And of course I went to the Better Business Bureau, because I didn't want to get taken for my money. And they showed us how to structure our board. They did our business plan. And I speak to them throughout the year, and they even do our postcard, a 990 NE, and people explain how the not-for-profit work, which is a lot different than having an LLC or sole proprietorship. So that is the process that I went through.
Okay, and now since we are at the 11:30 hour, so that's our time check, I'm sure everybody's interested in how about funding. So, how was it like trying to secure funding when you first started out?
For me?
Would you like to go first, Rashida?
Oh, I didn't know who you were speaking to. Yeah, so funding, like I said, I had a big chunk of money from pandemic unemployment. Instead of buying sneakers, we invested in the not-for-profit. So, because it's expensive to start a not-for-profit. And unlike a business loan, it's just, and I learned this from being aligned with not-for-profits. You have to fill out charitable paperwork for the state that you live in, fill out that paperwork. So a lot of our funding is out of pocket. A lot of the funding, we do fundraisers, we ask people, and fill out for grants. And right now I'm in the process of working on another grant. And, I got denied a grant, but, my organization is still in its infancy. And the more your name is out there and this goes into your marketing and branding, the more people are more apt to give you money. So I'm working on another grant application as we speak, like an RFP.
Okay. Pedro?
Well, my funding came strictly out of pocket. I was looking to save up to start my own business. And when I got enough to start my own business, I decided to just bite the bullet and decided to invest my own money. Therefore, I don't have to take any loans and be in debt as I'm just starting out. So throughout the years that I've been working as an independent contractor, I decided to save up to eventually start my own business, but this year I felt like I had to be forced to do it. So all of that came strictly out of pocket.
Okay, Fitz?
Yes. So my funding came from, I've always been a car lover. I've always been around cars. I don't drive. All my friends drive, but I've always owned a car. I don't know. I still own cars right now. So I sold a Legend to make a Legend. I sold an 86 Legend and paid off everybody that I hired. And I bought a car for my friend for a cheap price. And I'm gonna tell y'all this much. I hired everyone before I knew how I was gonna pay them. It was at the last minute. I was like, oh man, I have to do something to pay these people. And I sold the car. That's how
Okay.
I'm here today.
Okay, Ed?
All right, cool. So for us as sole proprietors, probably our biggest out-of-pocket thing actually is the personal tax. Because you get hit with like an automatic self-employment tax that is, it could be cumbersome, especially if you start your business off and you don't know what you're going to make per year. Then that first year you're behind, as it were. So I think that's our biggest hurdle. Our other big hurdle is payroll, if you have employees. So for me, I didn't have to have a lot of money to start the business. All I had to do was wait before I could take money from the business. So the initial outlay is not obnoxious, as they say. So the Commission for the Blind, as I said, has the funding to buy your equipment that you use in the store, your machines, your cash registers, your iPads, your vending machines, all of that. So your main expense is the expense of running the store. All right, thank you.
Okay, and I think we probably have time for one more question, which is, how do you market to your customers? So I think that's a big thing, because the more, like Rashida said, the more you have your name out there, the more customers you get. So Fitz, you want to go first? How do you market to your customers or to customers? How do you market your business?
Okay, starting out, I didn't have a big budget, so we worked off word of mouth. I also took a regular printer, in the early days. I took the regular printer, made a flyer, and went around and put it on cars, went to the schools. I went, kids are the people that wants to rap, and when I started out, I was probably around, 21, 20, around that same age. So I print this flyer out. I went to all the high schools, wait till it was time for, everyone getting out of class, getting out of school. And I would stand outside, I'll give out the flyer. Now, I do pay marketing. I have 360 marketing that does videos and, social media for me, and, everything, pretty much run my website. So it went from word of mouth to flyers to paying for marketing now.
Okay. Pedro?
Well, my business is a little difficult to market because it's marketing directly to companies. So I first started as word of mouth, and that's where where I'm at. However, I did create my own website, which is soon to be finished. But most of the time is word of mouth for now, because it's independent lawyers that I'm working with, not law firms.
Okay. Rashida?
Oh, marketing? Oh, well, I like to look at myself as the queen of marketing. So it started with, like I said, I've been speaking about the not-for-profit for years. I just didn't know how it was going to come into fruition or anything. So once I got it, I started word of mouth. I started telling people, hey, we have this organization, and this is what we're providing. And I also use my networks, because like I said, I'm in the not-for-profit sector on different levels. So I started whispering in people's ear, yo, OHOV, we out here, we're coming. And what I also did was created a logo. So when you see this logo, which is on all of our letterheads, all of our business cards, is on this sweatshirt that I'm wearing right now, the Purple Heart with the sun, you know, it's a One Heart, One Vision production. And so I worked on my branding. And instead of, and until people, you know, recognize that OHOV means One Heart, One Vision, I actually use the name One Heart, One Vision a lot of the times. And I've even created a podcast, and I just share, and the podcast is part of my branding, and it's also a part of as a part of my branding. It's all part of my mission, just shedding that positive light on blind womanhood, because that's pretty much what the organization is about. And so that's how I'm marketing is still a work in progress. So every day that I wake up, I'm working on my marketing and my branding. And so everything that I put out there is going to have our logo on it. It's going to have our tag. Just because you're blind doesn't mean you can't have vision. And I just use the networks that I have set up and just share it. Email blast, social media blast, blast until you get sick of Rashida Bunting and One Heart, One Vision.
Okay, Ed.
All right. So in the environment that I'm in, we try to deal with the population of the building that we're in. You know, a vending machine has its own branding, you know, because most of the machines of today, they're glass front. So people can see the product line that you might carry, you know. Their only question is what kind of pricing they're going to get it at. So we have a minimal amount of signage. It depends on what kind of building we're in. We use Square as our point of sale system, which gives you an analysis of repeat customers and how many new customers you have and how much they spend. So that has been a big tool for me. So I have used brochures at times, and they sort of work, but people just end up taking them and not really reading them. So, but we do put some out on the counter, so that may generate some business. We have a lighted sign goes a long way in an office building, you know, so that helps let people know that we're here.
Okay.
Right.
That's
Thank you.
wonderful. I loved all the answers. So right now we are at 11:41, and I believe right now we want to open up the floor for questions. So if anyone has any questions, you could use the raise hand feature. I'm trying to remember all of the prompts. So Chris, our Zoom expert, if you could jump in when you can, it gives us.
Yep. So, all of you are muted right now upon entry. So if you want to unmute and you are using a Windows PC, you can press Alt A. If you're using a Mac, you can press Option A to do so as well. If you're wanting to raise your hand, you can press Alt Y, which will also lower it. If you're a Mac user, you can press Option Y. If you're using a tablet or a smartphone, you can look for the mute or unmute button at the bottom of the screen. If you're wanting to raise your hand, of course, go to the bottom right-hand side of your screen and locate the More button, and you'll be able to raise your hand or lower it that way. If you're a phone user and you want to mute or unmute yourself, *6 will do that, and *9 will raise and lower your hand as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I do see someone does have a hand raised. Carol King?
Mute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for this. This has been really interesting. I had a question about, I think Pedro talked about the difference between being a sole proprietor and an LLC, having an LLC. And Ed mentioned the tax on the sole proprietorship. So what were the benefits? Can you outline those, Pedro, from the difference between sole proprietorship, switching to that to LLC? what you saw the benefits being for your business and just, yeah, so that's my primary question.
All right, well, the difference is that when I get taxed as an individual, doing business as, I don't get too many write-offs, business expenses.
Mhm.
For example, transportation, I don't get that. When it comes to using my cell phone as my form of communication or business company phone, I don't get that write-off. But as an LLC, because everything is, I have to list all of my expenses as the for the company, then I get the write-offs on that. So that includes my telephone, that includes print, like a laser printer that I had to buy earlier this year,
Mhm.
any expenses regarding the company itself, from computer upgrades to printers, papers, whatever office supplies I may need. Even transportation when I have to meet up with a client, an attorney, and we have a lunch meeting. All of that could be written off. Before, as a sole proprietor, I was not able to. I tried
Okay.
to, but being that the tax laws has changed, unfortunately, a lot of the differences as a sole proprietor
Mhm.
change with that. So if you don't have a business register, if you don't have a registered business under your name,
Mhm.
you don't get those privileges. And that's the reason why I got heavily taxed earlier this year.
Hmm. And so just a follow-up question on that to Ed, then why did the state set you all up as sole proprietors as opposed to LLCs?
Well, one thing is that I'm part of the National Federation of the Blind as well, and that's how I learned about BEP, further about BEP, about other details that are not in the program as part of BEP, but the blind vendors get a Social Security disability benefit after they work a certain amount of quarters. So I had to work for a few years before amassing enough quarters to get Social Security disability.
Okay.
So that is one of the reasons why we do not label ourselves as LLC. This
Okay.
is a benefit to sole proprietors that because we write off all those things that we get as services, like the commission for the blind when the manager comes in and says, we're going to buy you a new refrigerator, and they come visit you, or your vending machines, how much square footage your place takes up. So if you got if you have a 400-foot location in Manhattan and you have 5 vending machines, you can measure all that and multiply it by what it might cost per square foot. So your income, you can basically wipe out your business income by that. And the Social Security income is not related to, if you have a spouse, it's not related to their income. So it's
Okay.
only related to
Okay.
your business.
Thank you for that
Oh,
question.
You're welcome.
Do we
You're
have any more hands up? If not, because I have a question, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
So my question is, has to do with what's happening today. We're still in the middle of a, I guess, pandemic. So how has has your business been affected by the pandemic, or have you flourished in the pandemic?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yes and no. The pandemic has helped me tremendously because like I always like to say, all you need is that thought or that vision. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how it would be executed. And so the pandemic kind of hurt us initially because I had a board of 3, me, Jovan Campbell, and Tiffany Agard. That's all we really needed. But during the process, Tiffany passed away due to complications surrounding COVID. And then me and Jovan had to kind of make decisions. Do we still want to go forward? Do we not want to go forward? How do we, have Tiffany's legacy continue? And even though we got our paperwork, our 501c3 last year, she also passed away during the time of us getting the 501c3. So now we have to find a new board member, and it's just a whole rigmarole. And Tiffany is clearly smiling down on us from, heaven, because I said, Tiffany, we are going to continue this. I don't know how this is going to work, but we need you. And I will say, due to me using just Zoom and outreaching, something that wouldn't have been possible in 2019, the organization has flourished over the past year, leaps and bounds.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Fitz, do you have a response to that?
Throughout the pandemic, it was up and down. It was up and down. I saw a lot more young folks throughout the pandemic, just looking for some way to get out the house, or, so it was, people was more either using the studio as somewhere to go to, to get out, get a little change going. So I saw a lot of business from the younger crowd throughout the pandemic, but it did affect as the overall clientele.
Okay. Pedro?
Well, the pandemic affected when I was doing as a sole proprietor, as doing business as my name. And when the courts were closed in August of 2020, cases weren't being heard until somewhere early December, late November. So it affected me with my income, because most of my expenses had to be put on my credit card, and which affected my credit. That's why I was kind of skeptical about even opening up my own business. So once January hit, that's where more money was coming in, when the courts were hearing several cases. So from that point on, from January 2021, which is one of the best months I ever had in making money, that everything was still being backed up until May of 2021. So so there was a lot of finance problems that I was going through at the time, but everything worked out great. So luckily I had the finances and the credit to support my company. And I'm sorry. That's part of the reason why I got heavily taxed on this year, because all of that income came in one shot. Even though so 2020, it didn't come in until 2021. So I got heavily taxed earlier this year due to the income of 2021.
Oh, okay, Ed.
I do have a response. Yes, thanks so much. I'm glad to go after Pedro, because I work in the court system, and I would say business was booming before pandemic happened, but the government made us all shut down. So I was really afraid. All of the vendors in the whole state had to get unemployment, and we had to get unemployment. So I called my state senator, and they were able to help us get our unemployment. And we literally had to have the Commission for the Blind call unemployment office, because the vendors were not able to get through on the phone lines. Also, some vendors got a subsidy from the state. Some got a subsidy from the federal government if they stayed in business and didn't close. Or they stayed in business and closed down and then reopened after the pandemic. There were funds available for that. There were funds available to revamp their inventory. And then there was a regular payroll protection if the person had employees. So for some people that was good, but for other people, since the court system is a fraction of what it was, that is really hurtful. It was, 2000 was definitely a scary time. But I had vending machines, so I used the vending machines as a supplement to the decrease in over-the-counter sales.
Okay, I see a hand raised. Anthony has a question.
Oh,
Anthony Evans?
yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It kind of answered the question for me. I was trying to find out what were some of the beginning challenges that you faced when starting your business.
Does anybody want to jump in? I think we probably have about 5 minutes left before we wrap up. Maybe one person could answer.
I
Sure.
guess I can
Panel?
answer. I guess, I mean, I heard Ed call, but I can step back.
Ed, you gonna answer that?
Competition.
Okay,
That's my
maybe
You
answer.
said
Yes,
competition.
competition, especially in New York City. Competition,
I-
yes.
Rashida?
I think my challenge was people not believing in me. Even though you may have a vision, there's a lot of naysayers. So that was a big challenge. Just people around me who weren't really feeling the RB movement. But thankfully, there's more people now. And I get it when you go to your family and friends, because what happened at the end of the pandemic, I mean, at the end of 2020, my pay job let me go because of funding. Like I said, I always align myself with not-for-profit. So then I got this chunk of money, let me do this. And I went to my family and said, give me 1 year, give me 2021 to get this off the ground. And it, that didn't go over well as a single parent with your family. And then my job took me back when they got the funding in April. And it was a big decision. Am I going to be able to put the energy into this or not? And my thing is, I go hard, I go home with everything that I do. And thankfully, and it's been some tiring days, the Jasmine, that I'm burning the candles at both ends to keep this organization going and do my regular job. But now people believing in it, and that's what's great. The negative energy was the biggest thing.
Okay, Pedro?
Not knowing where to go, where to turn to. And to start your own business, you really have to do some homework before you get involved and know what to do, who to turn to, and exactly how much you're gonna spend to start your own business. So that was the biggest challenge I had.
Okay, Fitz?
I would say marketing. Just letting the general public be aware of your logo, your website, just getting out there. I run a total entertainment company from bottom to top. So I sell merch. I have artists that, stream stuff like that. So I had to be able to get to the public. Marketing was my biggest task.
Okay, so as we are nearing the 12 o'clock hour, we want to just, I guess, close out this workshop. And I just want to thank everyone who came in, who attended the workshop, and to say a special thank you to all of our panelists who have come to talk to our group. So thank you so much, Ed, Pedro, Fitz, Rashida. And thank you to the behind the scenes that's happening, that's been helping us out. So Kathy.
Yeah, thank you
Chris.
very much, all of you, for coming today.
Thank you, guys.
Jasmine, can I step out of character one more time?
Yes.
Okay, so now this is Rashida, the coordinator. Guys, if you like what you heard, which I hope you did, please definitely join ADAPT. ADAPT is a grassroots organization. You don't have to be blind. You don't have to have, this is an organization that's comprised of any disability group. And if you love what you heard today, me and Yasmin need a lot of help, a lot of ideas to help run this employment group. We meet every Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. right here on Zoom. Please, everyone, just join us.
Yes, thank you. We would love to have you. And actually tomorrow we are having a mixer. It's called Cocktails and Careers. It's tomorrow at
6 p.m.
6 o'clock. 6 p.m. is going to be on Zoom. So if you are interested, please reach out to us and we can send you the Zoom link.
Yeah. And this Fitz. Y'all can reach me on everything Willpower. Just type willpower in Google. You'll find me on everything. Website, all social media, YouTube, everything.
Oh,
Yes, we
let's do
should
this.
ask, everybody, how
Yes.
can we find you? Thank you, Fitz. How can we find you, Pedro? How can we find you, Ed? Rashida,
Yes.
give them the information.
All right. So, One Heart One Vision can be found at oneheartonevision.org. No ebonics. Our email address is empower@oneheartonevision.org. We can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also on YouTube. I'm working on that channel. And we also have our podcast. Please subscribe anywhere, everywhere that podcast can be heard. Holla at your girls, owned and operated for us, by us, or Blind Power all the way.
Pedro.
Well, I am not, I don't have, unfortunately, don't have the time to go into all these different social media. So best way to find me is mr.pedro at pndsllc.com, or the website will be coming soon at pndsllc.com.
Okay, Ed.
All right, and I can be found through the National Federation of the Blind of New York's website. And I am a Brooklynite, but I live in Rockland County, and I can be found on their website. I can be found on the Commission for the Blind's website, and my email is edwinwhitesr31@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out to me, and you can have a tour of our location, and that would be awesome.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you again for everybody that
Thank you
came
all.
to
Thank you all
hear the
so much.
workshop.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks for having us.
Take care.